Everything I tried, it did not work. So I told my friends, I said, if the end of the year catches me here in Romania, I'm going to kill myself. I don't want to live this life.
Welcome to the free sermon podcast of the Potter's House Church in Virginia Beach, affiliated with Christian Fellowship Ministries. Our vision is winning souls, making disciples, and planting churches. It's Tuesday, where you're going to hear a powerful testimony of God's grace revealed in human lives. Each Tuesday, you'll hear Pastor Adam interviewing pastors from around the world to share the mighty miracles that God has done in their lives to give you hope for yours. We share the stories of the men behind the messages you hear every other day on this podcast. Keep in mind that the free version only includes a portion of the whole testimony interview. To listen to the full version, use the links in the show notes to subscribe via Apple Podcasts or supercast.tech. Every dollar goes to supporting world evangelism. Enjoy today's Testimony Tuesday.
Well, hello and welcome back to this sermon podcast on this Testimony Tuesday. Pastor Adam with you again. And wow, do we have a special guest for you, all the way from the Carpathian Mountains in the land of Transylvania. This is Pastor Ovidiu Rusu, one of my favorite humans. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Adam. Thank you for inviting me. Good to see you.
Oh, man. It's I have such fond memories of spending time in Romania. It was actually the second week that we came to Bulgaria. We were baby-faced, fresh, out of the Chandler Church, 25 years old. And one of the first things we did was we came directly to a Brasov conference, and my life was changed forever. So, man, you were a big part of that. And so I really appreciate you and your family and your ministry and all that God is doing there in the Romanian churches. So it's an amazing thing.
Thank you, Adam. We appreciate you guys a lot also.
Well, so for those who don't know you, I don't know who would not know you, but for those who have never met you before, maybe you can give us the report, the conference style report of where you're at and how long you've been there, and introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, so my name is Ovidiu Rusu. My wife is Luminița. We are, like you heard Adam saying, pastoring in Brasov, Romania. This is in the heart of Transylvania. We were born and raised up here in this city. We got saved in this city. We got married in church, in the Brasov church. And we've been sent out at some point, and we pioneered a church in Ploiești. And after 5 years, we came back to take over the mother church from our pastor at that time, Pastor Richard Brooks. And so that happened in 2001. So since then, we are pastoring here in this beautiful city, a great and wonderful church. We are just happy to be part of what God is doing.
20 years.
Yes, 20 years.
And you haven't aged a day.
You are a nice man.
Well, it's amazing. And just tell the people a little bit, first of all, before we jump into your story, about the Romanian fellowship and where God is taking you.
Well, good things are happening, and God is helping us. We have churches. I think we have 15 churches in Romania. We have 3 overseas churches, 2 of them in Moldova, in the city of Chisinau, which is the capital of Moldova, doing very good. Young people getting saved, young people being discipled. And then we have our church in Switzerland, Dori and Matthias Kipfer. Matthias is a Swiss man. He came to Brasov many years ago. He married Dori, which was a young girl at that time in our church. They pioneered in Romania, and then at some point we sent them to Switzerland, to Bern, and they do a great work there. Very, very good church. Couples that want to preach, people from not only Swiss also, people all over the world. So yeah, we are, thankful to God for, helping us to grow, to expand, reach other nations. And we're looking forward to our next conference in June. We'll have a great time.
Wonderful. Yeah, I've got Pastor Matias on the list for an interview as well. So his son, Noel, he has been following our podcast for, I don't know, ever since we started. So very cool.
Very good.
He just sent me some pictures. Did they plant a new church in Austria? Is that correct?
Yes, but who that was, I think, if I remember correctly. No, I don't remember correctly. I don't know, but it's a good man. I met him last conference as well. Very, very good man, being sent from somewhere from America.
Okay.
Good man, excited to be there, yes.
Fantastic. That's great. Good to hear. We're still sending missionaries into Europe. You know, I think there's still a few sinners left in Europe somewhere.
A few.
Well, praise God, man. I'm always excited at the opportunity to see what God is doing, and I should also tell you before we jump into your story is we are starting revival this weekend here in our church with a guy you might know, Pastor Steve Nicodemus, who also was a missionary in Romania for a time.
Yes.
So I'm sure we will talk about you.
For sure.
So,
Pastor, very good people.
Pastor Rusu, you have been a conference speaker in the Prescott Church. You've preached in other churches around America and around the world. And one of the things that I love about doing a podcast interview like this is you get a chance to tell the long version of your testimony that maybe you don't often get to tell over the pulpit. So I want to hear a little bit about your background. You said you grew up there in Brasov, Romania. And can you tell us what your early life, your family life was like, and what was it like growing up in communist Romania?
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, I didn't have the privilege to preach in the Prescott conference. I did preach in Prescott Church, which was a great, great privilege and honor. Absolutely. Well, growing in Romania, in communist Romania, I have fond memories of my childhood, and I know that sounds strange in a communist country. Well, yes, because although we grew up in communist and we were communists for all these years, about 45 years, our nation was communist. Communists, we, as children, especially, we didn't saw the bad part, we had a beautiful childhood, being out in the woods, no worries, And so I grew up in the family with two children. I have a sister that is 2 years younger than me. She's actually my half sister. So I grew up with a father that was not my real biological father. And so, I grew up in a family with some problems like all the families have. Like I said, as I grew up, as being a child, I was not aware of how bad communism is, I just enjoy life. But as I became a teenager and then a young man, then it hit me. And I must say that it was a struggle not seeing a future, not seeing any hope at the horizon, just looking around, seeing people just going to work, coming home, pretty dull, pretty empty, and looking at that and feeling, I don't want to live my life like that. And then as a young man, a desperation sets in, because there's just no opportunities. There's just no doors that you wait to open. It's like all the doors are closed, and now what? So I think that not possibly, but I'm pretty sure a big factor in my salvation was that feeling of just desperation, of lack of hope for the future.
It's kind of like you were feeling trapped.
Feeling trapped, and that is the perfect word. Because living in a communist country, you never hope of traveling abroad. So this is the place I was born. This is the place I will die. This is the life I would live. That's it. There's just no other possible. And the word trap is the perfect word. You feel it.
So what's interesting though is that having lived in a place like Bulgaria myself, I do know that there are people who are okay with that, and they are okay to live and to die in the same place and never leave a 50-mile radius. And so where do you think this came from? This desire to escape?
I'm not sure. It could be as a child, I read a lot. I think that was maybe an escape thing where I just escape in books, So I read a lot. And at times I was out with my friends and just enjoying life. And there were times when 2-3 weeks, I will not come out of the house, just read night and day.
Wow.
I enjoyed reading. So maybe reading all these books, you become aware of another world out there, of possibilities, of, a spirit of adventure, of I want more, I want to do things, I want to be part of something bigger. Maybe that had something to do with me just not being able to accept this is it, this is going to be maybe that.
That's a wonderful insight. And so your sister is 2 years, or half sister, 2 years younger than you. Is she still in Brasov nearby, or is she?
Yeah, she's nearby, married, has 2 children, has a nice family. She's a Christian, also going to another church though. But they still live here nearby Brasov. They build a little house, outside in a little village, and they still work in Brasov. They kind of travel, drive back and forth, and it's good. I'm happy they're Christians and saved.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now you said that you didn't really notice the harshness or the difficulties of the communism in Romania. But can you describe, I mean, to the Western mindset, we have no idea of what it would be like to live under such conditions. But can you give our audience a little bit of a taste of what life was like during that time?
Yeah, absolutely. So I said I did not notice the harshness of communism because I was a child and I was a young man. But now looking back, I see some things that I felt at that time, but because they were so normal, just so like this.
Everybody was in it.
Everybody was in it. You don't maybe think like, hey, this is wrong. This shouldn't be like that, So one thing that I definitely remember that was there present was a fear of authority. Everybody in communism, everybody that is in authority, and I'm talking about just a little bit of authority. Somebody that sells you tickets for a bus. She's the lady in that kiosk there. She has the tickets and she has a little bit of authority. And then the teachers, and then of course the police, and then other state functionaries. So everybody that is in authority wants to use that authority against you for you to feel that they are the boss here. So that develops a fear of authority. Everybody in authority you fear because no authority is there, almost is there to harm you, to humiliate you, to question you. So you kind of have to live your life like walking on eggshells. You rather avoid any kind of conflict. So that creates that's a fear. It's obviously unhealthy. But as I grew, I didn't realize that. I thought, that's how life it is. But now looking back, that's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
It's fear.
Yeah.
So something else in communism is poverty, but again, you don't realize you're poor until you
Right.
realize you are poor.
Right. Right.
So, but that poverty, manifests as a child, I remember, and it just growing up. The food is very, maybe scarce, but not only that, it's always the same. There are 3 or 4 or 5 things that they go round and round, round and round. So I remember being just tired of beans and tired of rice, tired of potatoes again, and so you always have one pair of shoes, one pair of pants, one pair of whatever, a jacket, and you never buy another one
Mm.
unless the one you have is broken, and that's like the normal life. But now
Yeah.
when you look back, you realize that's poverty.
Yeah.
Always have one thing and having to kind of take care and sew it and take care of it, because if it breaks, you are in trouble. So living in that poverty, living in that fear of authority. Another thing I think that is very, very poignant is it's the feeling maybe that sets in that you don't count as an individual, as an individual. In other words, you're just part of this big number of people,
Yeah.
and you will never accomplish something that is special or different. Maybe that was part of me struggling so much with just the lack of opportunities, let's say, for my future. I'm just, a little piece of a big thing, and that's all.
Yeah, I heard an amazing teaching from a rabbi that I listened to. His name is Daniel Lapin, and he teaches about the Tower of Babel. Have you heard anything about this?
No.
Oh, okay. So he talks about the difference between stones and bricks. And in Genesis there, when it describes how they're building the Tower of Babel, the first thing that he says is, come, let's build some bricks together. And you're like, why do we start with that? Usually you would start with a big plan, like, okay, I have this idea to build a tower. And because we need to build a tower, we need to make these bricks. But no, it starts with the idea of making bricks. And the thing about bricks is that they're all the same. If one brick breaks, you can knock it out of the wall, put it back in. And this is the view of authoritative government. That tower is a symbol of authoritative tyranny from top down, basically. And so they are happy if you are not an individual, right? And that's the view of tyrannical, overarching type of government is they want you to be a brick. They don't want you to have individual ideas, and they want you to be constantly in crisis mode, so that you don't know anything else. But the opposite of that is what God makes. God makes stones, which every stone in the world is unique shape and size and weight. And if you're going to make a wall or a building out of stones, it requires a master craftsman to piece them together one at a time. And the house of God is made up of a house of living stones. So powerful teaching.
That's powerful teaching, right? And that's why communists, when they, and not only, but dictators generally, they want to do away with the intellectuals, because people that think for themselves, they know things, they know what is out there, they're stones and they're bricks.
It's like you. I mean, because you had some exposure through reading books, then you had a different idea. So it made you understand that there was more. But there's a lot of people that would not do that, and they would just be happily holding their place. So also, I'd like to hear a little bit about kind of the spiritual condition in Romania at the time, and how did communism have an effect on that?
Well, I think that people in Romania at that time were very religious. And maybe that was maybe that was, see, for some time after I got saved, I was very young, and we were all young here when we got saved. And we thought that that is bad. We thought that, oh, it's a religious place. People are religious, and that is bad because or Greek Orthodox is false religion. And then we know it is, absolutely. And yet now when I look back, I don't think that that was all that bad.
Okay.
But people were religious, and they were religious, I think, as a, maybe as a counter reaction to communists, actually, because communism was preaching atheism. There's no God. Man is, at the top, and we create a new man. And so they were quiet against the church and religion, but they didn't dare to destroy it all because people were way too attached to it. But maybe as a counter reaction to communist, people got even closer to their church, to their faith, their beliefs. So people were religious, and that was not all that bad because there was a sense of respect for God, for Jesus, for the man of God, which of course was the priest in Romania. But that was, now I see, was actually not that bad.
Thanks again for listening to the free version of the VBPH Sermon Podcast, where we post sermons on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. We also have a premium version of this podcast, which posts sermons and interviews every single day of the week. So why would you want to subscribe? I'm glad you asked. I have 5 reasons for you. Number 1, on the premium version, we post full versions of Testimony Tuesday, Pastor Campbell Thursday, and Study Day Saturday. If you'd like to hear those episodes, then subscribe now. Reason number 2, uninterrupted listening. We remove all ads and all extraneous content from our premium feed. Reason number 3, premium episodes always release 6 hours earlier than the free version. If you're an early bird, it's a great reason to subscribe. Number 4, our subscribers will gain access to our sermon chat group on WhatsApp, where we interact directly with listeners around the globe. If you'd like to chat with other premium subscribers, subscribe today. And finally, every dollar we raise goes to world evangelism. This is the best reason to subscribe because you are helping us launch churches all around the world. We don't put one dime in our pockets. Everything that we raise from this podcast will go directly to Thursday night of Chandler Conference. So please subscribe today by using the links in the show notes below. Thanks.
So that might make Romania different from some of the other communist nations because especially in Russia and some of these other places, they really did, they destroyed churches and killed pastors and those kinds of things, but not so much in Romania.
Yeah, not so much in Romania, no. And also you see, because of that, I guess in Romania people are still, pretty much resistant to all these wokeism and all these genders and all these crazy things and ideologies. Romanians are pretty rejecting that because they are still in their fiber religious, have a certain respect for God and Jesus, Mother Mary.
And so what about you and your family? How were you religious growing up? Did you attend services?
Well, no, not that religious. I remember going with my parents to church, but like on occasions. I think that my father, I think he would consider himself being pretty religious, pretty close to his church, not as close to go to church and not as close, of course, to, live in sin, drink and, doing all kinds of things. But yes, on one hand, it was putting me a respect for God. On the other hand, I did not see my parents going that much to church.
So was the Bible on your list of books that you had read?
No, I tried as a child out of curiosity. I tried to see what is this book all about. And, of course, yeah, I didn't find it interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting even when I, if I can very quickly say that even at some point for a short time, I was in a prison in Austria and I was desperate to have some book. I was, bored to death. And I asked, somebody has a book, and somebody says, yes, I do have one. And they gave me a New Testament. So I tried to read it, but as bored as I was, as in need of books, I just could not, just could not get anything out of it.
Wow.
That's before I'm saved, of course.
Right. Before the Holy Spirit got involved.
Exactly.
Well, I'd like to dig into that a little more. How did you find yourself in an Austrian prison?
Well, that was a short time, about a year before I was saved. So I told you about the struggle for a future in me. So as I talk around with my friends, I heard about these French Legion, which you can go. They make an army with people from another nations. They don't care who you are, where are coming from. They will just make you a soldier. They make a contract for 5 years. It's a good salary. So I took that idea as an opportunity for me. I thought that's the only way I could make it in life. So I talked with my friends. Some of my friends rallied to that idea. They said, yeah, that's a good idea. That's instead of just working here for nothing, let's go. But the only way to go to France was illegally. We could not, you don't need a visa, you don't need money. It was impossible for us at that stage. So we just decided to just go illegally across the border in Hungary, from Hungary, in Austria, from Austria, in Germany. That was our plan. So we went. But
How
in
old
Austria,
were you?
I was 22 at that time.
Okay.
22 years old. So we went, me and another 3 friends of mine, we were 4 guys, cross illegally in Austria from Hungary. But they caught us. We looked so differently. Immediately you would see these guys are not Austrians. So they caught us. They put us in prison. Then that's a prison where they have to find out who you are, where are you coming from, what are you doing here, and they figure out basically a way to send you back.
Okay.
So then I was in that prison in Austria, trying to go into the French. So because I was very, very adamant about going and just, I was saying to my guys, when they send us back from here, we knew they would send us back by train. I was saying, jump off the train, go back. I never go back in Romania. So because I was like that, I guess I was sent home first, and they put me on a plane. So that was
Can't jump out of the plane.
Can't jump out of the plane. So first time in my life flying, for free, coming back to Romania, but very, very discouraged, because when I saw they take me to the airport instead of a train station, that was very hard. So coming back to Romania, then trying to go back all that year. I tried different ways. I had a friend in Germany. I tried to call him. I had everything I tried. It did not work. So I told my friends, I said, if the end of the year catches me here in Romania, I'm going to kill myself. I don't want to live this life. So now the end of the year was approaching. I could not make it. And so I was still in Romania. And then the last 2 weeks of the year 92, right? So of the year 92, the last 2 weeks, I was not even going out of my house. Just in my room, smoking, passing back and forth, desperate. I didn't want to see my friends. I didn't want to see my girlfriend at that time, which is my wife now. And I was just smoking cigarettes, thinking about this. The end of the year was approaching. I was desperate. And so I think it was about 27th of December, I cried out to God in my room.
Wow.
I said, God, if you exist, you got to do something because I can't live this life. 3 days after that, or 4, it was early 31 December. The evening prior, my mom said, you need to go buy bread early in the morning because at that time we still needed to stay in line for bread or you would not have bread. So you need to go at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, stay in line. It was the bread you buy for like the New Year's Eve. It's a big party in Romania. It's a big evening. So I said, okay, woke up 31 December 92, early, 5 o'clock. I'm in line for bread. It's not a line, it's a mob, actually. And I'm right in the middle of it. And as I'm staying there, frustrated, angry, desperate, no hope, I see this young guy kind of going and looking through the people. And in my head, this young guy wants to get in front. So I'm angry. I'm looking after him, thinking I'm going to kill him if he does that. Then he goes, then he comes back. And this is an amazing thing. He says, so excuse me, through the people. And he comes right to me. And he says, I know you from the neighborhood. Your friend, and tells me about one of my friends. Your friend goes to our church, and he begins to witness Jesus to me.
Wow.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's winter. It's cold. I'm in the middle of 150 people, and this guy comes to me to witness. At that moment, I did not realize this, but now I know. 3 years earlier, I cried out to God in my room. I forgot about that. God did not. Wow. The first time I stepped out of my house, God sent a guy, a Christian, to witness to me. And he witnessed to me, and he told me about how Jesus takes care of him. He says, look, I don't have a job. He was a young guy, maybe 17 years old. But look, the clothes I have on me, Jesus blesses me. And he had a Walkman, which at that time it was like, wow, look at this rich guy. He says, look, Jesus can take care of your future. That was it was my struggle. It was what I was fighting with inside of me, my future. What am I going to do? So, and then, we both bought bread. I went home and I could not the testimony, the words, I could not get them out of my head. So in that day, 31 December 92, about 2 o'clock, I decided to go and find this friend of mine he mentioned to me that goes to the church. So just to ask him more, what is this all about? And so I found the guy. The guy said, come with me to church. And right then I went to church with him. He says, we have a party, New Year's Eve party. If you want to be with us on the New Year's Eve. So I said, absolutely yes, because I was absolutely open, absolutely interested. God was working in me. That night, 31 December 92 at 12 o'clock, all the Christians in the church were in a circle. They were praying. Everyone said something, like, thank you, God, for this. Thank you that we are saved. Thank you that you changed my life, whatever. When it came to me with a loud voice, I said the sinner's prayer. God, forgive me. I'm a sinner. I want to give my life to you. And the rest is history.
Wow.
Never left the church. I was truly, truly touched and transformed by God.
What an amazing story. So this is 1992. This is after the Iron Curtain fell, and there was a revolution also happening in the country.
Exactly. So that's the reason why we even dare to think that it's possible for us to leave the country. Mm-hmm. Because before the revolution, that was not a possibility. And so because the revolution took place, now that hope somehow came that actually we could go out. We could see another country. We could find the future somewhere else. Still, it was a difficult thing. You
Right.
need to do it illegally, but at least they would not shoot you right at the border and kill you on the spot. So, you know.
Wow. So describe like is this something that you think was a revival happening in Romania at the time because just of the situation? Was there many churches that people were getting saved in?
Yes. Yes, I think it was definitely a revival going on. Definitely God was doing something in Romania. And I don't know about the traditional Pentecostal churches that existed already in Romania since the communist times still. But I know that every new church that opened after revolution in Romania had revival. Preachers began to come from Germany, from America, and they opened churches. Every church had revival and had revival with young people. Young people were getting saved. So in our churches, I got saved. I was 23 years old, but I was one of the older gentlemen in the church. Because all these kids were 14 and 15 and 16 and 17. So definitely a great revival among young people. Yes.
Wow. So we can't talk about your testimony without also talking about Pastor Richard Brooks. When does he enter the story for you?
Well, so he came in 91. They began, he married Anita. They began a Bible study that grew fast. And so they then began a church, that Bible study. I don't think they had a church in mind, but let's do something. Let's start a Bible study. When that grew, they saw God is helping us. So they started a church. So when I got saved, the church was about 60, 70 people.
Wow.
And obviously I met Pastor Brooks in that night when I got saved, but my memory, I don't have memories of him in that night, but I have memories of him preaching Sunday morning. We were not part of the fellowship yet. We had services only Sunday morning. And he was preaching and I was just amazed at the preaching. I remember like just taking all in, and I remember thinking like, okay, this Sunday, next Sunday, the third Sunday, I was thinking the fourth Sunday, what will he say? What is there more to say? I was coming just open. And so Pastor Brooks, it was the right man at the right time for us. And this is such a deep thing that I think it was totally God, because he was what we needed here at Romania. Pastor Brooks was a man of faith. He was an exciting man. He was happy and he had an attitude. We thought that's how Americans are, all Americans. He had an attitude of everything is possible.
Yeah.
We can do everything. There was there was, not an answer. He had that attitude, exciting, hopeful. Everything is possible. That's exactly what we needed, because we were little communists.
Right.
Communists think nothing is possible. All the doors are closed.
Right.
That's how we grew up. That was the spirit put in us. And it's good to be happy, but not too much. So we looked at him, and inside of us, we felt, all of us, we want to be like this man. Yeah. We want to be like this man. So we immediately, our hearts meet with him. We were just so attracted to his personality and attitude and everything. We didn't realize, but inside of us, I think we wanted to be like him. So, perfect man at the right time for us, a tremendous blessing sent from heaven. Absolutely.
If you'd like to hear the rest of this sermon, subscribe today. It's only $3 a month when you subscribe at supercast.tech or $4.99 per month when subscribing in Apple Podcasts. Links are in the show notes. We thank you for joining us on this special preview of the VBPH Sermon Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Sermon Podcast of the Virginia Beach Potter's House Church. Were you blessed by today's message? Let us know. Please leave us a rating on Apple Podcast or on Podchaser. We'll be back next time with another life-changing word from heaven. God bless.